my dad has done some stuff in life. He kind of grew up in a generation where, you know, if you didn't have it, you couldn't buy it. You made it, and what he did with airplanes and even helicopters, it's just amazing. You couldn't do it today. You could not have his business, aircraft business today. You just couldn't. There's too many rules, restrictions, and whatnot. So anyway, I just think it's neat. I'm surprised he even sat down in front of the camera, and so that's what this upload is about. I'm here in my dad's nerve center. This is the nerve center where it all happens. But I wanted to ask him a few questions about how he got in, you know, how he got started in business, and about the time when I was born, I guess, in Safford, Arizona. He got a B-25 World War II bomber. But I want to ask him a few questions and get that on the video and see what we can do here. So anyway, here we go.
Well, I guess it all leads up to starting flying. I learned to fly at 15 years old. And how does a poor kid learn to fly? You go to work at the airport for $15 a week and 30 minutes flying time. Can't solo until you're 16, which I soloed on my 16th birthday. And you can't get a private license until you're 17. And I got my private license on my 17th birthday. Went into the flying business. I got my commercial at, I think I was 20 or 21 years old. And went into the dusting business at about 24 years old. And the dusting business started with the Stearmans, PT-17s. That is my dad, and I'm pulling a Stearman back from Oregon to make into an ag plane. And there's my first one that I built and worked. I flew that airplane for 10 years. And for a little extra income, there was early spraying, timber spraying. New Brunswick, Canada, and DDT, good stuff. Early in the year, so I started doing that, and I used my Stearman as the first airplane that I flew to New Brunswick, Canada, and sprayed. And then there was more contracts becoming available every spring, and I was looking for a bigger airplane. And the first larger airplane that I got was a FM2, the same as a Wildcat, Crumman. And put spray tanks down here, fuel tanks out on the wingtip, and it turned out to be a very dangerous airplane, which I sprayed with early in the year for about four or 5 years.
What were some of the particulars about flying the FM2 that was kind of dangerous? You just told me about the gear. Tell me about that again.
The landing gear was a hand crank gear, and about 45 turns to get it after takeoff to get it all the way up. And as your speed increased, the gear became harder and harder to crank. So you take care of that by dumping or going forward on the stick and unloading the airplane, and you could get about 4 or 5 cranks before you have to start climbing again. And you did that all the way up till you got the gear up. Then, in about 1957, the government started to unload all their propeller airplanes. And they were a bunch of them. The B-25 was one of them. They sold hundreds of them. I bought the first B-25 for $2,000. I made it into a firefighter and a sprayer. It turned out to be an excellent airplane with one drawback. Everybody in the airplane business at that time, particularly the ag business, seen what I did, and they wanted to do the same thing. So the second year, there were a lot of B-25s tanked and ready to go. Big problem was 11 people got killed just flying into the mountains and one thing. So they blamed the airplane. They wouldn't think of blaming a new pilot in such a business.
Well, so wait, so how did you learn how to fly a B-25? I mean,
I read the operating flight manual. They had a good one, incidentally.
I mean, that's it? You read a book?
Yeah. And that certainly was the biggest airplane I've ever flown up to that time. It was kind of spooky, but not bad. So it just went on from that point. They outlawed the B-25, so I bought a B-17 and made a B-17 a tanker and firefighter. This is a newspaper clipping of the B-25 doing a spray job in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And this is the B-17. This wasn't the first one I bought, but very nice airplane. I enjoyed B-17s.
Let me ask you, so how did you, I mean, come up with the engineering? I mean, did you use just those things had bomb bay doors. Did you actually put a tank in it? What did you do?
Exactly right. Put a tank in it. I had a good friend by the name of Sam Steele, and he was a self-made engineer type person, and he helped me build the first tanks. I don't think I could have, I didn't have the engineering mind that Sam Steele had. And they worked very well.
Okay, so you're flying these airplanes, you read a book on learning how to fly it, which seems a little bit scary. I mean, what, did you have any moments where you're thinking, hey, I really don't want to be in this thing, I want to do something else?
You haven't got enough film in that camera to sit and listen to all of those problems.
From the B-25, they outlawed that. B-17s, you just started buying more of these things and keep spraying bugs. Is that basically it in firefighting? Fighting?
That is it. I've been in partnership with a couple of guys, and mainly for an expert mechanic and able to keep all these things running. His name was Gene Packard. And as the contracts grew, we grew. And we were in business till 1986. And when we sold, there must have been 60, 70 airplanes and helicopters, something like that.
All right, well, thanks for doing that.